Let me say another word quickly about the reconciliation bill. You're going to hear so much about this, Mr. President. I've already heard a lot that the reconciliation bill that Congress passed it's going to kill people. People are going to die. It's only going to help rich people. None of that's true. None of that's true. The bill that we just passed is primarily a tax cut. And taxes are not terribly complicated. When you tax something, you get less of it, right? You want to stop people wearing wristwatches? I love wristwatches. I've had this one for like 30 years. But you want to stop people from buying wristwatches? Just pass a bill and says every time you buy a wristwatch, you have to pay a $200 tax.
Ladies and gentlemen, patriots, welcome back to the conservative current, where we fight back against the lies of the radical left with truth, reason, and a whole lot of American grit. Now today, we're going to talk about something that the mainstream media isn't telling you the truth about. Shocking, right? The reconciliation bill. You've probably heard the left screaming. It's going to kill people. It's just a handout for the rich. Republicans want to destroy Medicaid. Let me be crystal clear. None of that is true. And I'm going to break it all down, piece by piece, because you deserve the facts.
Boy, that's going to be the end of wristwatches. Business is the same way. You want businesses not to expand? Tax the hell out of them so they don't have any money to reinvest in their business. You want people to work less? Tax them. Take all their money. People are rational. They'll go, well, why do I want to work an extra 10 hours this week? They're taxing me. The government's going to take all of my money. So our bill was a tax cut bill. That's all it was. We passed the tax cut back in 2017, as you know, Mr. President. Those tax cuts would have expired at the end of this year. If we hadn't passed this bill, taxes on the American people would have gone up $4.3 trillion. Not billion, $4.3 trillion. It would have tanked our economy. Our economy would have gone down like a fat guy on a seesaw. And some of my friends say, oh, you cut taxes on the rich. That's not true. That's just a lie. I mean, well over half of the tax cuts that we extended go to ordinary Americans. Working people, working moms, working dads. So the first thing we did was extend the tax cuts. We avoided $4.3 trillion worth of taxes. And frankly, everybody who voted against our bill voted to raise taxes on the American people in the amount of $4.3 trillion. That's just a fact. Our bill did some other things, though. We added some new tax cuts. We cut taxes on tips. Now, not everybody who works for tips is going to get a tax cut, but most people are. We cut taxes on overtime. Most ordinary Americans work overtime. We cut their taxes on overtime. We cut taxes on Social Security income. We cut taxes on some car loans. We extended the child tax credit. $2,200 for every child. That's important for most Americans. We increased the standard deduction. We strengthened Medicaid. One of the things we did, there's this rhetoric, it's really a lie, but I'll call it rhetoric going around. Well, they're destroyed Medicaid. Medicaid's going to grow under our bill. It's just not going to grow as fast as it was. But 10 years from now, we'll be spending a minimum 20% more on Medicaid. Not less, more. You know the biggest change we made to Medicaid? Work requirement. Now, the American people are the most compassionate people in the world. If you're hungry, we'll feed you. If you're homeless, we'll house you. If you're too poor to be sick, we'll pay for your doctor. We're generous people. But those who can work should work. And we've got some people on Medicaid who are perfectly healthy. They're not disabled. They don't have young kids at home. I'm not talking about a mom with a sick child in her arms. They don't have minor children at home. They just don't want to work. They want to get Medicaid, but they don't want to work. Those who can't work should work. And all our bill does is say, look, you can still keep your Medicaid, but if you can work, not if you're disabled, not if you're elderly, not if you're in a nursing home, if you're a healthy adult at home playing video games, you got to go look for a job. And you got to work at least 20 hours a week. Not 40 hours a week, 20 hours a week. What's unreasonable about that? The other change, major change we made to Medicaid was some people, not most people, but some people when they sign up for Medicaid, they lie. They say, I'm only making $25,000 a year. Well, in fact, they might be making $75,000 or $100,000 a year. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen that happen. What we've told the states is twice a year for all of our folks on Medicaid, you got to check their eligibility. Make sure that they're not making more than they're supposed to, because Medicaid is not for everybody. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying to people, you're not entitled to Medicaid if you're not eligible? What's unreasonable about that? We're not killing people. We're trying to save Medicaid so that we can afford it for people who really need it. The other two things this bill did, and then I'll move on quickly to my other subject. It provided more money for border enforcement. Now I know there are many people in America and there are many people in the Senate who believe in open borders. I respect that. They may not say it, but they do. They just think the border ought to be wide open, and they think that if you believe in secure borders, you're a racist. I don't agree with them, but this is America. They're entitled to their opinion. Most Americans don't think that. Most Americans want the border to be secure. They want to know who's coming in and out of their country. And this bill is going to provide the money to do that. The other part of our bill, as you know, Mr. President, provides much needed money for our military. Because we live in a dangerous world, and I wish we didn't, but we do. And weakness invites the wolves.
Let's start with the big picture. This bill is not some death sentence for the poor. It's not an elitist tax scam. It's a pro-American, pro-family, pro-worker tax cut bill that continues the legacy of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Remember that? When businesses grew, paychecks got bigger, and unemployment hit historic lows. Well, guess what? Those tax cuts were set to expire. If this reconciliation bill hadn't passed, we'd be staring down the barrel of a $4.3 trillion tax hike. That's not a typo. That's trillion with a T. And let me ask you, who do you think suffers the most when taxes go up? It's not the rich. It's you. It's the middle-class American trying to make ends meet. It's the single mom working overtime. It's the truck driver, the small business owner, the diner waitress working for tips. Who this bill helps? Now here's the kicker. The bill extends tax cuts to working Americans. Over half of these cuts go directly to the middle class. We're talking about tax cuts on tips for every restaurant worker busting their back to serve a hot plate. Tax cuts on overtime for the blue-collar men and women working 60 hours a week to provide. Tax cuts on Social Security income for our seniors who earned that money. Child tax credit, $2,200 per child, because raising a family is hard, and this helps. Increased standard deduction, simplifying taxes for everyday Americans. You show me how any of that helps the ultra-rich more than the hardworking middle class. I'll wait. Medicaid. Reform, not ruin. Let's talk about the left's favorite scare tactic, Medicaid. They say we're cutting it. What a joke. The truth? Medicaid spending will go up by at least 20% over the next 10 years. It's growing, just not at the bloated, unsustainable rate that bankrupts nations. But here's the common sense reform they're mad about. Work requirements. If you're able-bodied, not disabled, not elderly, and don't have small kids at home, you should work to receive taxpayer-funded benefits. We're not talking about slave labor here. It's 20 hours a week. That's part-time. If you're playing video games all day while my tax dollars are paying for your health care, yeah, we've got a problem. The American people are compassionate, but we're not suckers. Medicaid eligibility checks, fraud prevention, not cruelty. Another key point in this bill, verifying eligibility for Medicaid twice a year. You'd think that's just smart government, right? But the left? Oh no, they say it's cruel. Listen, if someone is lying and saying they make $25,000 when they're raking in $75,000 a year, that's fraud. And fraud steals from the truly needy. If you're not eligible, you shouldn't be getting it. Period. Border security, yes, it matters. Another leftist meltdown point, border security funding. This bill finally puts real money into protecting our southern border, something Americans overwhelmingly support. If you don't know who's coming into your country, you don't have a country. The open border crowd doesn't like it. They call it racist. They say we're fear-mongering. But you know what? Weakness invites the wolves. And I'd rather be a lion than a lamb in today's world. Military funding, because freedom isn't free. And finally, the bill includes crucial funding for our military. The left says we spend too much on defense. Really? With China circling Taiwan, Russia invading neighbors, Iran shouting death to America, and terrorists regaining strength. Now is the time to strengthen, not weaken. We don't fund the military for fun. We fund it to keep America safe, strong, and respected. Final thoughts, the real reason they're angry. The truth is, the left isn't mad because this bill hurts people. They're mad because this bill proves that conservative policy works. It respects taxpayers. It helps working families. It makes the government more efficient. And it puts America first. This isn't about cruelty. This is about common sense. Patriots, we need to stop letting them control the narrative. This bill isn't perfect. No bill is. But it's a step in the right direction. It's a reminder that we don't need socialism to solve problems. We need freedom, responsibility, and honest leadership. If you agree, do me a favor. Like this video. Please share it with your conservative friends. And of course, subscribe to the Conservative Current for more common sense commentary and truth-driven takes. Until next time, God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.